Inspired by Tuku fashion photography, how to use visual method to explore the design logic of Tuku in Chinese fashion system, how to use discursive design to explore the tension among the working class Gen Z, urbanization and fashion in China. This is my statement of intent. A techy aesthetic Tuku, which is opposite to the modernism appearing in the fashion industry. It shows magical narrative rules in Chinese geography, inspired by Chinese non-urban areas and 1980s elements. It constitutes ironic and humorous style in fashions. Tugu reveals the life conditions of Chinese Generation Z in the city periphery. Due to the rapid developments of the Chinese economy and accelerated urbanizations, many Gen Z have migrated to the city from the outskirts. Due to the migrations, there have been contradictions among the social structures transformations and unequal social status and living condition difference of urban and outskirt Gen Z. Inspired by Roland Barthes, fashion clothing is symbolic and linguistic. How to use the similar patterns of Tuku fashion designed by the Chinese fashion designer to perform and discuss by garments to describe the Gen Z's surreal, postmodern life in the city periphery. What is Tuku? The term Tuku is the English translation of subculture style Tuku, which is the Chinese meaning of Takiku. This style is marked by the attitude of poking ironic fun, but also embracing the stylish elements of outdated popular taste. What kind of situation of Gen Z need for queer attentions by Tuku fashions? The main reason is that because of inequality, city migration of this generation Z from the urban periphery facing the tremendous life changes and unequal treatments from job, living environments, and social space. Who is Princess Butterfly? She is an Instagram and Weibo Tuku fashion influencer in Beijing, China. Her design fashion clothing inspired by her life journeys and city outskirts in China, taking 1980s Chinese surrounding and Atlantic. This is some of my key phototypes and important insights. Inspired by the Tuku fashion photography, how to use the visual method to explore the design logic of Tuku in this Chinese fashion system. Basically, I follow the visual analyze the fashion photography of Princess Butterfly. I use visual methods and means to get access to discover what is Tuku fashion. The second proposition is that clothing can stand for different communities, cultural groups inspired the Roland Barthes, but also the film Insurgentes by Vinegar. This primary purpose of the ritual was verifications by the experiments of Tuku Fashion Manifesto. Fashion is not simple fabric, it's a symbolic and linguistic means. None of the clothing items clothes itself have any meaning without language descriptions. So basically, I want to address how to use Tuku fashion clothing to represent the living conditions of Chinese Generation Z in city periphery. I collect the living post pictures in Kuaishou, which is an app similar to TikTok, but also more related to Chinese Generation Z who live in the non-urban area. I'm gathering the patterns, type of clothing, living environment in order to recreate the design, the pattern of fabric used in the virtual project. I create like a motif fusions about the elements and patterns, but also I document the phototype or archive about the motifs based on the investigation of cultural apps. This is my process how I create a clothing stand for the Gen Z in city periphery. So the third idea is that the difference between the Balenciaga CC campaign and local Chinese Tugu designer. This is for answering the feedback. Are there critical implications of extracting patterns from the working class Chinese Generation Z? Using the aesthetic from the working class is helping or making worse for the inequality. So for answering these questions, those Tuku designers from Princess Butterfly, Manu, Fabric Prawns, and Money Travel builds in the core of love and confidence of national culture that enhance the voice and powers of design in China. Rather than made in China, they are challenging, enriching, and performing the young generation Z power in China. Also, many of them who used to live in from the outskirts adjust their life experience and fashion designer inspirations. This is a human condition resonations. Compared with TC campaign of Balenciaga, the TC campaign is precise commercial strike of Chinese Generation Z, a capitalist orientation, is target the considerable potentials of Chinese fashion market. Based on the intention differences, I argue my work adjusts the directions to channel performance and rebuild the confidence of techie design in China. This is a new trend, new perspective for Chinese Generation Z on how to contextualize contemporary China's surroundings. Last but not least, the specialties of fashion markets in China allow the Too Good fashion to be popular. Potential in-scale and the sound determinations fashion market environments give power to Chinese designers use the life as a blueprint of self-creations, which you can be easily seen for the lives surroundings of Chinese Princess Butterfly, how she created a Too Good fashion style from her life surroundings. Chinese fashion designers are on the path of becoming global fashion designers because they have embraced the global advances that resonate with the human conditions, rather than the manufacturer's advantage of Eurocentric fashion system that penetrate any consumptions. For this part, I analyzed the birthplace of Princess Butterfly, which is her creations or inspirations from how Princess Butterfly resonates her life journey in the city period by Too Good fashion. Also, it led me to visual experiments about analyze the wearings and garments of the citizens in Beijing. This is called the magic gap of clothing. I use the visual essay use visual comparisons and map located by Beijing and typography to expose the inequity between the wearing non-urban Chinese citizens and the urban citizens in the metropolis and city within 25 kilometers. The visual experiments show the vast difference from the edge to center geographical locations in the same cities from the social space, living conditions, and well-being, especially in the living surroundings between the city center and village in Beijing. Tuku gets many inspirations from the Chinese city periphery. The last, the Tuku is about the Gen Z love and embrace the national subculture, which is sharp, humorous, and ironic. Tugu is based on the absorptions and translations of contemporary Chinese local magic narrative, self-creations and old past culture, local elements and motifs from the outskirts, and the acceptance of satire with extravagances creation. This is my definition of Tugu. The thinking most of sincerity as a core is the essence of Tugu form. It's embrace, tolerance, accept the local culture, is love. Similar pattern can be seen in the Sinofuturism, which is a work by Lawrence Link, a visual essay about the unsurreal of contemporary Chinese of nowadays. In the Western media and Orientalist perceptions, Chinese is exotic, strange, bizarre, kitsch, tacky, and cheap. In this domestic media, Chinese portrayed as heroic, stumbled, historic, grand, and unfine. Rather than content restrictive narrative, Sinofuturism proposed to push them much more further. But also I do a visual experiment on how to use the ironic means to create Tugu style. So for the last part, my audience is the Chinese Generation Z who love the Chinese Tugu style. I hope this my design will resonate with them and make them more aware of the Chinese artist fashions culture, which is increasing their confidence and love for the local culture. At the same time, I am the people who are not familiar with the Turku culture and fashions, including Western words. I hope that not only my work will become a discussions to assimilate the new Chinese style, the new local fashion culture, but also it can adjust and show the people how Chinese Generation Z with confidence and the love of local culture to embrace the surroundings in the Chinese city periphery by humorous and ironic way.